Okay, this is coming straight off the back of a one-to-one client coaching call. And it addresses the question that came up, which is my body numb and dissociated, or is it that I've just made an embodied decision? Now, that's what we came up with after this discussion. And I find it easiest if I'm actually speaking to someone's real life conversation. So I'll only ever share if I've got explicit permission from my client because I don't want it to make it sound like I'm talking about you. However, I know that some of you are going through this. The other time that I will speak to examples like this is when there is a very clear pattern and I can find a way without someone feeling like I'm speaking specifically to them. So I hope you get what I'm putting across there. Okay, so this example, this client has been amazing. I've been working with her one-to-one for, gosh, almost coming up to 2 years now. And she has just made the decision to leave her job. And we've been working on this for a long time. One of the top fears that stops people from doing the emotional work is the question of what if I want to leave my job, or what if I want to leave my relationship? I talk about this in chapter 12 in my new book, Healing Beyond the Diagnosis. And I know that as humans, we want to know the answers, but this work is very much about stepping into the unknown. And I say we do this emotional work because when you make the moves, I know there's going to be a whole bunch of new fears, new challenges, new questions, and you've built the foundation and capacity to be able to deal with all of that. So let's go find out when it is relevant. Okay. And so of course, on a side note, I think it's really interesting for any of you who actually want to leave your job is when you have the conversation, it can be surprising how much the company, the business actually wants to hold on to you. And here you are thinking, I was just going to leave, I'm out of here, but then they want you back. And this is where it's really important to actually have a vision of not necessarily what is your next step going to be. Some people will know this, but how do you want to feel? Because when you're thrown all of these opportunities, you have to be able to align your responses with your values, with your vision, with your future, and most importantly, how you want to feel. Because usually, when the transition happens of leaving a job, you either know exactly what you want to step into, and hopefully it's desire based or in the pleasure space. You either know that or you just allow yourself time and space to actually have the next best idea land. And hopefully that comes from your heart. I'm just looking out the window because it's also really interesting. Whilst I was coaching this client, I'm now recording from this new location from the couch in the dome, and I can see the horses out there. And all of them are dropped to the ground. And it was really interesting as we were actually doing some of the processing, which is a whole other podcast episode. I will share that with you in a moment. It was interesting as her nervous system dropped and probably my nervous system responding, all the horses dropped to the ground. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent because I have so many things to share with you. But she last week told her work that she no longer wants to continue. Now, I find that people leave jobs and leave relationships without having the communication, without trying to see the opportunity. And so this person, well and truly over the last year, has spoken up, has made changes, has requested her needs around her work, and she's given it an opportunity for it to land. And those things just haven't come to fruition. So I often say to my clients, look, you've either got to change how you feel about your current situation, your job or your relationship, and these two areas of life are very closely intertwined, or you've got to change your environment. I know that this person has put in the work. I know that she has shown up with really powerful conversations. And some things have changed, but not everything. And as she has evolved, this workplace, I don't think, is in alignment. And so gone through all the conversations of, will you work part-time? Will you look at this capacity? All of these new opportunities. But we've been able to align it with her values. We've been able to align it with her vision. And when sometimes she's wavering back into what might feel comfortable, I'm able to say, hey, remember, this is what you talked about. Has that changed? Because that was actually created, your vision was created when you were in a very grounded space. Okay. And so she's just like, well, yeah, I've just made this decision and I don't know if it's that I don't care. And that's why I love coaching people in their transitions to help them decipher this message that the body is giving them. And so I said, okay, well, the way you're sort of expressing it, it sounds like you think that you might be numb or you might be dissociating because you don't care. And we often associate numbness and dissociation with not very healthy states of being. But because I have such a relationship with this client, I know her quite well, I said, well, actually, I don't think it's numbness and dissociation. I think it is that your body, you have made a embodied decision. And this feels really foreign for you. And this is the best place to sit in. So I don't think it's that you don't care because this person is incredibly loyal, an incredibly hard worker. Yeah, it's actually that she's made an embodied decision. And that's why I feel like coaching is so valuable when we make these transitions, when we actually start really making moves for our dream life to come true, because we start to feel feelings that are completely foreign to us. And then we're used to putting labels on them that might have negative connotations to them. So, a big part of doing emotional work is actually to be able to access grounded decisions. And grounded decisions are also quite often driven by a vision, a feeling, an intuition. They don't make logical sense. So, if you verbalize these potential moves and potential decisions to people who are not necessarily leading a life that you're inspired to live yourself, then they can start to project fear. And you've got to then be able to ask yourself the question, is it me or is it them? So, grounded decisions are what free ourselves from so much pain, free ourselves from the energetic leaks. And that's why we do emotional work. So this is celebrating that my client has and will be confirming today that no, she's not going to take on those opportunities, that she is going to leave her job. These are the emotions and the feelings that she is going through. And I'm just so excited because I know this person has got so much potential, and that is what I'm holding them in. And of course, there is going to be space and time to settle into. Maybe new exciting ideas will come up, but let's just wait until that space and time comes up and we'll deal with whatever comes up in the moment. It's all unknown. That's the best part of this work. So I hope that helps you. I love the real life examples, especially when I'm working with people and walk the journey with them, to be able to share these stories with you. So this was a question of, okay, well, I've decided to leave my job and she's definitely still going to show up because that's how we show up with this work is we leave a place, a relationship better than what we left it. Is, do I feel like I don't care? Am I dissociated? Am I numb? That's what I said. I think that's the question that you're asking. But I actually said, no, I feel like you have made a grounded and embodied decision. We want to make decisions that align with our values, align with our vision, align with our feelings, even if they don't make sense.